All right, let's talk Miami Dolphins. Of course, we are in the thick of training camp. A lot of stuff happening across the National Football League. Exciting time. We're seeing this Miami squad, what they're going to look like for the 2025 season. We're hearing a lot about the big names, but how about an under the radar guy, a rookie that was added to this Dolphins squad with not a lot of fanfare, but folks, he's off to a great start. And you can see why the Dolphins are so excited to have him on the roster. He is going to be a game changer, I think, even though a lot of people aren't paying attention right now. We'll get to all that in just one second. But first, I'm Nick. That is Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, the Miami Dolphins set out this offseason to really retool their mentality and refocus on the trenches. And we saw that, of course, with a lot of additions and a lot of moves they made throughout the entire offseason. The first round selection, Kenneth Grant, being a prime example of that. But it was their fifth round selection, Jordan Phillips out of Maryland, that slid under the radar and is now off to a great start in training camp, surprising some people with the plays he's making, the quality job he's doing as a physical presence in the middle of the Dolphins defense. Let's get into the report involving Phillips. Then we'll break down the data and why he's going to be an awesome player for Miami on the other side. So our first report here is via an ex post of Travis Wingfield at Wingfield NFL, talking about Dolphins training camp, some of his notes. He said, Jordan Phillips looks like a problem to me. He gets off the ball so quick and then goes to the power and strength to overwhelm guys. He reset the line of scrimmage, LOS line of scrimmage, a couple of times. So we're talking about a guy who can stuff the run. We're talking about a guy who can deliver a punch, physical football player, drive opposing offensive linemen back, reset the line of scrimmage, physical, tough mentality. That's what the Dolphins have been looking for. That's what a lot of their moves were this offseason. A lot of people weren't looking at Jordan Phillips to fill that role, and based on early reports, he's primed to do just that. But when we take a step back and look at Phillips, and we realize throughout the draft process that the Dolphins probably evaluated this guy and said, listen, he's going to fit this mold too based on what he brought to the table collegiately. So let's go into our first set of graphics here to highlight what I'm talking about. This is a snapshot from this NFL.com, Jordan Phillips' NFL.com draft profile. And I'll just read you the couple bullet points here just to really focus on and see how quickly it's translating to the National Football League. From the report, it says he's a powerful nose tackle known for his work ethic and leadership. Phillips is compact and explosive at the point, but is inconsistent at controlling blocks quickly enough as a read and react defender. Okay, the takeaway there is what we're seeing already in Dolphins camp. Powerful, resetting the line of scrimmage. We talk about work ethic and leadership. That's obviously a culture thing. Love to see that. Haven't had to see that yet from Miami, but fifth round rookie, that's not something you actually want to come out so early. You want that to happen organically over time. But that physical nature, that explosive nature, that compact nose tackle, resetting the line of scrimmage, being a problem for opposing offenses. Love to see that from this young nose tackle. But when we compare Jordan Phillips with the rest of his peers that very similar stylistically, collegiately, who were also drafted, he does very favorably. Let's go into our next set of graphics here to highlight what I'm talking about. So we compared Phillips to three other defensive tackles, kind of just trying to get a good assortment here. We had Tonka Hemingway out of South Carolina, really good player. I think he's going to do things for the Raiders. Omar Norman Lott, drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs in the second round. Jay Toya, a potential steal by the Cowboys. He's going to be a good football player. And there on the far right, you see Jordan Phillips. And in blue, red, and gold there, the blue is the PFF overall grade. The red is run defense. The gold is pass rush. And you can see working across this graphic here, there's a couple things that jump out. First and foremost, Phillips is far and away the most consistent of the bunch. He's the most complete player. We talked about his style of play fits exactly what the Dolphins need. I love the fact he's a complete guy. He's not a guy that has any massive inherent weakness. He's good against the run. He's good in pass rush, very physical, compact presence, right? He's what you want from an interior defensive lineman. So many times players and teams, what they look for is, well, can we get a good pass rusher or can we get a run stuffer only? And I understand maybe in certain situations, but I think you want complete players. You want complete players that understand the scheme, do their job and do it well, allow your superstars to operate. That's exactly what Jordan Phillips will be for this Dolphins defense. And you can just work through the list here and you can see in terms of pass rush, the only one who was better was Omar Norman Lott. In terms of run defense, the only one that was better was Jay Toya. And in terms of overall grade, he was the best. In fact, let's go into our final chart here to kind of highlight the overall grade. Really zoomed in because these are, again, good players, right? These were all guys drafted between the second and seventh round. Toya was a steal falling to the Dallas Cowboys. That was great value for them. He should not have fallen to the seventh round. That's my opinion. But you can see all these guys, quality football players in college. And you can see overall here, Phillips on the right, slightly better than the other three guys. Second round pick, fourth round pick, seventh round pick. Phillips was better overall, again, according to the folks over at Pro Football Focus, PFF. We're talking about a good football player. We're talking about a complete football player. We're talking about a young guy, right? It's not a guy who's played 6 years of college football. He's a guy that's really only had 2 years at Maryland, was a transfer, still has a lot of game to learn. He's very, I will say gung ho. He's got the right work ethic, right mentality, like the scouting report hint on. So I think he's going to continue to get better and better. He's one of these culture guys that the Dolphins need, kind of a reset, tough, old school, grinded out work ethic, physical presence. You talk about a guy that fits exactly what the Dolphins need. Phillips fits that to a T, and the fact that he's off to such a great start in camp is a really good sign. And if he can continue this through camp, through the preseason, we're not saying he's going to be a day one All Pro or maybe even a day one starter yet. But we're talking about a contributor in a big way to this Dolphins defense and a guy who can grow into a team leader and a big time star up front. Great selection by the Dolphins. Great start to the career. Jordan Phillips, potentially massive steal, one of the bigger steals so far for Miami. All right, Miles, I know you've got a few thoughts on this, but first, Dolphins fans, in the comment section below, we're talking defensive tackles, interior defensive tackles. So let me ask you this. Who, in your opinion, is the greatest Miami Dolphins defensive tackle of all time, right? There's a couple really different directions you could go here. I mean, there's one guy in particular in the early 70s legendary teams that comes to mind, but maybe there's somebody else that, kind of perkles your memory a little bit, gets you thinking. So give us your opinion right here. Greatest Miami Dolphins defensive tackle, nose guard, defensive tackle, whatever you want to call it. It's all fine to me. Cast a wide net here. Give us your best. Put them in the comment section below. And while you're down there, make sure you go to the description below and sign up for our weekly newsletter, courtesy of the Substack platform. 100% free, extra content, lots of great stuff. Check it out. Link in the description box below. But Miles, enough from me. Over to you. What are your thoughts on this latest out of Miami?
Yeah, Nate, there's a lot that jumps off the page about Phillips as far as what he does well. And I think, this guy was great value in the fifth round. But one thing that I really like, if he's able to work in on this line, is he adds some heft. He adds a little bit of extra size. Because when you go through the Miami defensive front right now, it kind of is lacking a little bit of that heft. You see Bradley Chubb, 275, Chop Robinson, 250, Zach Sealer, 300 pounds, and then Jalen Phillips, 263 pounds. One guy that's right at the edge of 300 pounds. You look, though, Jordan Phillips, 320 pounds. A guy, a little bit of size, a little bit, of heft through the middle of that line. I like that in particular, probably why he's got so much punch, so much push to move stuff around. So I think that's really great. And then the other things I like is early on now that he's doing good things, he's going against some of these Dolphins offensive linemen. I like that because the Dolphins' offensive line, the interior of it, that's the strength of this team as far as where the offensive line is set up. Aaron Brewer, a guy that we really like, they picked up last year at center position, really good. James Daniels had a really great season last year, 2024 in the interior, and now they got the young rookie there as well. So the interior is the strength. If he's able to bully that interior of this offensive line around, it shows good because those are all guys that were great players and did some good things last year as well. But overall, I think Jordan Phillips, he adds a lot to this Dolphins team that they needed. I think he's good overall player, a guy in the middle of the field that you can plug him in, and he doesn't specialize in one thing. He's not like a pass rushing interior guy. He's not just a run defending interior guy. This is a guy that, like you said, the graphs really highlighted the best. He's overall very consistent. He's a complete player, a guy that come into the middle of this Dolphins defensive front and do whatever you need him to do. He doesn't need to leave the field in pass rush situations. He doesn't need to leave the field in run defense situations. A guy that really firmly supplants himself in the center of the field and does everything very, very well. So great pickup for the Dolphins, especially in the fifth round. I'm really liking what we're seeing so far from Jordan Phillips.
Yeah, and it's not just what we're seeing now. The Dolphins saw this coming. If you go back to report, this is courtesy of Dolphins Wire right after the draft, and they were kind of explaining why they went and selected this kid, talking about what they evaluated during the All-Star game process when it comes to these college kids. What they reported was that, so for us, talking about Greer and the Miami Dolphins leadership, says we were excited watching that. I and Coach Weaver were the first one to come to us and say, we're like, hey, watch us from the East-West game and what he was doing. He's 20 years old, has an unbelievable love for football. So we do think there's some things we can unlock with him. And at the Senior Bowl, Mike Locksley, head coach of Maryland, was one of the ones who told me, he said, this kid will be an even better player in the pros. He said he's so young and still what he can do. So we're excited for him. So they saw, we're talking about, of course, Jordan Phillips here, during the process, during the draft evaluation process, Coach Weaver went down there and said, look, this kid's a stud, right? He's young, great energy, great everything we want in a culture. He's got great physical tools. And then his coach at college, Mike Locksley, respected guy, right? One of, came from Nick Saban's staff, right? He's a good football mind, been around a long time at Maryland, really solid, straight shooter kind of guy. That's how he carries himself. No reason to doubt him. Came out and said, listen, This kid's going to be special. He's only going to get better and better. It's clear the Dolphins were high on him. There are some reasons he fell in the draft. Obviously, he wasn't spectacular in anything. Only 2 years at Maryland, right? So only 20 years old. So there were enough red flags to have him fall all the way to the 5th round. But if you listen to the Dolphins coaching staff and you look at the early reports when it comes to this kid, everything is positive. Everyone's excited to have him here. A culture fit, a physical fit, a key depth piece up front, good size, everything you want if you're a Miami Dolphins fan, everything you want if you're just a Miami Dolphins coach or player, you've got in Jordan Phillips. I think when it's all said and done, this will probably be the biggest deal the Dolphins made this entire offseason. Incredible value, incredible fit, checks every box. Jordan Phillips does for Miami.